Do you know what a Queens Jubilee is?
A what?
Queens Jubilee.
Hold on. That's the stuff they had on TV all day, all night long.
It's I don't know the exact length of the celebrations, but it's going on currently in the UK, in London. You ever heard of it?
Not at all.
Well, since we are in the United States, a lot of Americans may not know what a Queen's Jubilee is because we have a different governmental structure. I think in the UK they have a monarch.
Sounds like just time off just to celebrate people who really don't give a damn about you. I'm just saying, though. That's just my personal opinion. You know what?
Anyways, for our international listeners and those Americans that don't know what a Queen's Jubilee is, it is a celebration of the monarch's reign upon ruling for a certain period of time. So basically, it's kind of like equivalent to our President's Day, but it's for a longer period of time instead of one day.
All right. I mean, you ready to start the podcast?
And first of all, sir.
Episode 6. You know what? Today, I'm feeling like some Jigga Man.
Let's get it cracking.
Lauren explains it all.
Yeah. Hey, man. Before this episode starts off, man, I want to give a shout out to my motherfucking self, nigga.
First of all, congratulations.
Lauren explains it all.
Master Molly, baby. Round of applause for me.
What we talking about? Real shit, talking about rhymes. You talking about millions or you talking about mine? What we talking about?
What we talking about, hell?
What people be talking about all the time? What we talking about? Fiction.
Lauren explains it all.
Let's start the episode, man.
So, what are we starting with? The Queen's Jubilee? You still
No.
want me to go into that?
No. We ain't talking about that.
I think we should. It's interesting though,
Go
because
ahead.
the interesting part was so you remember the whole battle of Meghan, Duchess of Success, that she had like black in her nationality, and so the Queen's royal family didn't want to accept her at first.
I remember that. I remember the whole story.
And she is like, first of all, that's just like wow, like just wow, okay. But she fought through with Prince Harry. I think they have a kid now too.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting this year because there's some celebrations that the Queen won't be able to attend because she is 96 years old. But
man, hey, shout out to her doctor right quick, because her doctor got her like, yo, I would love to be 96 plus years old, and she looks in good health. I did see her on TV. I'm not gonna pretend like I don't know what the Queen's Jubilee is. Yes, we all know what it is. Well,
and it's she's celebrating her 70-year reign in London. 70-year reign.
70
what
years.
a life, bro.
Sheesh.
I wish I could be a Queen of England. I mean, that's just a interesting life.
You
but
too
anyways,
dark. Well, I'm sorry.
Meghan would very much be offended.
But she would never be the queen, though. Will she?
I honestly don't know how the monarch works. Here we're in the United States, so that's a completely different governmental structure. And so I really don't know how that works. That's something I would have to do some research on, because I don't want to misinform anyone, but that would be something to really research,
For sure.
But moving forward, so unfortunately, we got to talk about another mass shooting in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And this is, I think, 233rd mass shooting in 2022. That's just this year, guys.
Literally the last 3 episodes we have led off the podcast with mass shootings.
Like,
it has to stop.
Yeah, like, I want to give my respects to the deceased, but I don't like starting off my podcast on a bad note, you know what I'm saying? Or our podcast on a bad note with, talking about mass shootings. But, always give your respects to the deceased. But the story behind this one, Michael Lewis was a gunman, and he's also now dead. It's believed that he shot himself. But long story short, he had a back surgery performed on him by Dr. Preston Phillips on May 19th and was released on May 24th. So he called and complained about the pain following the back surgery and wanted additional treatment. On Tuesday, he saw Dr. Preston Phillips again for additional treatment. However, he was still encountering back pain and called again on Wednesday. 2 p.m. that same Wednesday, he purchased an AR-15 rifle and a revolving handgun. Michael Lewis, the gunman, killed 5 people in attempts to kill Dr. Preston Phillips. When the police arrived on the scene, they found a note with the suspect that stated that he was going to kill Dr. Preston Phillips and anyone who got in his way. And he was successful in killing Dr. Preston Phillips. He also killed another doctor named Stephanie Hewson, Amanda Glenn, which was an employee at the medical facility, and William Love. He was a patient at the facility. Wow.
Oof. It's just...
That's heavy.
So what they saying about the gun laws now?
So I know New York passed some new gun laws. They implemented one that you have to now be 21 to purchase a semi-automatic rifle. And they also allowed a court to issue an extreme risk protection order prohibiting a person who is determined to be a threat to themselves or others from purchasing or possessing a firearm for up to 1 year. They also require new guns to be equipped with micro-stamping technology, which would allow enforcement investigators to more easily link weapons to fired bullets. And they require anyone looking to purchase a semi-automatic rifle to obtain a license beforehand, and make it illegal to purchase or sell body vests to anyone who does not work in law enforcement or other professions that would require body armor.
How you feel about that?
Better late than never. That's for sure. I think this is something that it's sad that we've had to lose so many lives in order for, the states to kind of recognize, well, not all states, but, it's just sad to see that we have to see so many lives lost before, something was done. But moving forward, this will be interesting because to my understanding, Texas still hasn't done anything as far as gun laws since the shooting in Uvalde.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as we know, speaking of U.S. governments, our states are sovereign, so they're allowed to make state laws at the state level. It would be interesting to see, if we have a civil war between the states, I would think, because obviously there's going to be a lot of disagreements. And then how would the laws work interstate, going in between states?
I got a question though, because in sports often, say for instance, football, the game changes and quarterbacks, there might be a pass happy league, and they say on ESPN it's a copycat league. Do you believe a lot of these mass shootings are just people copying after other people? You know what? They kind of feel like they have courage by seeing all this publicized on the news day in and day out.
I do believe there is some truth to that, because at the end of the day, if it's almost if you're in a classroom full of kids and you see one kid steal a piece of candy, even though the teacher said don't steal no candy, and that one kid gets away with it, you know what I'm saying? Then the next kid's gonna go steal a piece of candy, and he gets away with it too. Well, then it's almost like a domino effect in a sense. Someone else in that class is gonna try, and you'll have your good eggs and your bad eggs. But I will definitely say that, a lot of seeing these mass shootings and not a lot of things being done about them, I think definitely influenced some people to say, well, if I'm in so much grief or in so much pain, whether it be mental health, back surgeries, or whatever it is, this is my way out. And if you notice, the guy at Uvalde, he was killed. Mm-hmm. This man shot himself. I want to say the other, what was it, Sandy Hook Elementary shot himself, I want to say.
Yeah.
So it's just is that their last crawl before they exit the earth or whatever? I don't know. But I do definitely see a domino effect kind of thing, where it's they're replicating the same type of mass shootings, the same guns. You know what I'm saying? It's scary.
Yeah, I believe something has to be done. But I know the statistic you said, this is the 223rd mass shooting.
Yes, this year.
This year?
In 2022.
And we only halfway through the year.
We are in June.
That's what I'm saying. We're 6 months in.
6 months in.
Wow.
Yes.
That's scary.
That's not something.
That's very scary.
It's more shocking than anything. But I will give New York their credit. It is satisfying to see, something is being done, but it's just why did it have to take for us to get to this point for something to be done? And then furthermore, how, we said, how does this impact other states, or will other states, do anything about it? And then how is that going to result in our country? Because if we go back way back to the Civil War, it was between the North and the South, because the South wanted slavery and the North didn't want slavery. And we saw how large of a war that caused. And at the end of the day, you know, slavery was the driving force of the economy in the South.
Yeah.
Because cotton doesn't really grow in the northern states. It's too cold.
Yeah, I think it, like, even like on another scale, like anytime you have a large gathering, like when I was at graduation, it was just so many people. I'm just thinking like, bro, anybody can come in. But see, where we graduated at on UCF campus, it pretty much, there was a lot of armed guards there. So you kind of felt protected, but then you also felt like, well, it could be that one person that could slip in. Like, I'm going to tell you a quick story real quick. Actually, when we graduated, there was this guy. He graduated and everything. You know, I dapped him up. We told each other congratulations, right? As soon as he walks outside, he's surrounded by 6 cops, and he gets arrested in front of everybody right then and there. I don't know what the fuck was going on or what happened, but they got him out of there so quick. What a swift and hurry. I'm talking about armor guards and everything. Everybody just looking like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Because it's like you said, all this stuff is happening in our country right now. You never know. I could have been dapping up, you know what I'm saying? Somebody could put out, you know what I mean? Like an AR and start blasting everything. I hope it wasn't that situation, but the way they surrounded him, they did not play with him.
And you know, that's really the scary thing, because with these mass shootings, it really can be anybody. I don't think we can really pinpoint a stereotype or a certain look per se on these types of shooters. You know, we've seen white, Spanish, black. I mean, you don't know who's really going to be a ticking time bomb. So it's almost like now the average person or the innocent person, people or the innocent public is like, I could literally be going to school, to church, to a hospital, medical facility, a graduation, and don't know that I'm going to exit that place safely. And that's the scary part. You know, it's almost like I can't, you know, trust that I'm going to be able to live my life this way, like live my life safely and celebrate the good things in life without having to worry about, am I going to get shot today? You know, I think that's really what's scary about it. And it doesn't necessarily, like I said, doesn't necessarily need to be a certain look, a certain type of person, a certain, you know what I'm saying, personality. It can be any and everybody. You just never know who's that ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
But that's, you know, like a lot of times, you know, some of us, we just kind of stay ready. Like, you know what I'm saying? It sucks that you got to be like that, but you are like groomed or raised in certain kind of environments or situations that you just got to stay ready. So you, like, my head is always on the swivel. I'm always looking around, being paranoid.
But even still, if your head is on the swivel, what do you really do in that kind of situation? Like, what do you really do? Like, you can be as ready as you are, but like you said, you were at a graduation. You know, first of all, they're not even gonna allow you to carry a gun for your own protection in there.
Yeah.
So what do you do when some shots are fired? Like, what do you?
I guess it's like the old Mike Tyson phrase. You know, everybody got a plan till they get hit. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You can plan all you want to, but when the shit get real, you never know what your body's how it's gonna react. Some people freeze up. Some people take flight. Some people fight.
I think I would either pass out or take flight.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie. But anyway, speaking of our government, our economy, and that kind of lingo, so we were discussing inflation because I saw something on Instagram today saying that California gas prices are between $7 to $10 a gallon.
Oh my God! Started, bro.
I mean,
that's coming to Florida very soon.
We over here like, we over here complaining about $4.
No. I'm complaining about. I pay about $5.30.
Well, you got premium though, yeah? I mean, I'm pissed. I over here drive a little Hyundai Sonata, and I bought it for good gas mileage when it was, man.
Tesla.
I've been trying to hit that economy mode so quick, but it don't do nothing. How was that Hyundai Sonata? $70 to fill up.
Yeah.
And that's when I still got a little bit of juice left in it, like at least on the last little notch before E.
And you said California right now is in the $7s?
$7 to $10.
Hold it till 10. So premium, they paying $10.
I'm pretty sure I've heard some people when I put on my Instagram, you know, they're like, yes, some of them are actually at $10 again. I said, when I will tell you I will be on horseback.
Well, shout out to everybody who was smart enough to see the future and got all them electric cars, man. Round of applause for you. You know what I'm saying? Hit that button, man.
Oh my goodness, like, yeah, definitely a good job of getting ahead of the gun. But oh damn, that's a bad joke right now, isn't it? I did not mean that. I really didn't. But getting ahead of the situation is really what I meant. And that, yeah, ouch. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I'm hitting your drop for that one.
Lauren explains it all.
Anyways, getting ahead of the situation. We were talking about inflation, right? And so kind of giving a background story of inflation and how this might, help you understand what's going on. Some people don't understand the difference between fiat currency and the gold standard. So on a small sense, fiat currency is basically, it's backed by nothing. It's just backed by the U.S. government's word saying that a dollar is worth a dollar. Before, I think it was President Roosevelt, we were working and operating off of the gold standard. And what that means is that for every dollar that the U.S. produced, there was a certain amount of gold to back that dollar, which gave that dollar value. So for instance, I go to Jamal and I say, I have $1 and it's valuable because this dollar is backed by X amount of gold. Because, gold was deemed as valuable back then. Since President Roosevelt, he passed a law saying that's no longer a thing. We're going to do away with it. And we have this thing called fiat currency. Fiat currency is basically, we still have our paper dollar, but it's just backed by the U.S. government, which means the U.S. government says it's worth $1 because we say it's $1 and everybody agrees that the dollar is worth $1, but it's not backed by any gold or anything, just by our word. So that being said, I mean, we got to also take into consideration what's going on in our government right now, in our economy. Starting with the pandemic, that was one thing that took a tank on our economy. I think actually took a tank on the whole world economy.
They getting back now though. It's get back season.
Well, yes, but on top of that, when we're talking about the gold standard versus fiat currency, especially fiat currency being backed by our word, essentially, we have a lot of turmoil going on in our economy right now between gas prices. A lot of people are not happy with President Biden right now. Abortion laws, gun laws. The mass shootings are not adding to it. We also got to think news is spread worldwide. We're not in the age of, shipping over news or things take months to get across the world. When a mass shooting happens in America, it travels to Australia, the UK, Europe, Asia, overseas within the matter of seconds. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, a lot of investors overseas may be saying, I don't know if I want to invest in the American market right now because it's very unsteady. It's uncertain. So the value of our dollar is also going down because of that, because we have a lot of things going on in our economy that we can't decide on. People are dying for no reason, literally no reason. I hate to say it, but we have a lot of mass shootings going on where innocent people are dying. Nobody really wants to invest into an economy where children are dying in schools, patients are dying in medical facilities, as well as doctors. That's a very uncertain, unsteady economy. So taking all of those points into consideration, if you were an investor overseas, would you necessarily want to invest in our market right now? No. So that also takes down the value out of our U.S. dollar. That being said, fiat currency, it is what it is now. We have rising housing prices, rising gas prices. So there are ways to try and attempt to beat this. The way I would do it, especially in real estate, housing, and that kind of thing, definitely find investments that beat inflation. So I think inflation's at 7 or 8% right now. If you're going to be an investor, you need to find something that has at least a minimum of 10% return on investment. And, at the end of the day, your stock market is a good place to invest money, but you have to know what you're doing.
Calculated gambling. You have to be calculated when you gamble. And I hate to tell y'all this, but this is the new normal. Mm-hmm. These gas prices, these housing market is not going nowhere. You got to adjust and adapt, get more money, hustle harder, and just try to make it through, because this is the new normal. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, when we were younger, a lot of stuff got raised up in the market and everything like that too, and that became the new normal. So this is the new normal.
I have to agree with him too. Your gallon of milk, it was once $1 and now it's $4. Just like your gallon of gas was once $1 and now it's $4. Unfortunately, I think that's just the way of the world now. Another way that you could beat inflation, if you're very good and can watch numbers, is I think currency trading, day trading, which is you're basically making money off of the exchange rate of currency between, the Japanese yen, the euro, American dollar, and other forms of currency. But that is a very intricate type of trading, very detailed. I honestly don't know too much about day trading, but what I do know about is real estate, and that's almost it's almost a guaranteed return on your investment, because at the end of the day, whether you're living in an apartment complex, a house, townhouse, multifamily, whatever you want to call it, everybody needs a place to live. So that's just, almost a guaranteed place to put your money. And furthermore, when we talk about real estate, it doesn't have to be a place to live either. People can invest into storage facilities. You can invest in car washes, anything that has real property. And real property is basically land, anything that sits on land. And when you really come to think about it, everything has to sit on land unless you're about something floating on water. And much things can't float or survive on water other than boats. So real estate doesn't have to just be limited to housing. It can literally be anything that sits on land. So furthermore, what we were talking about, and what I think is a good option to try and beat inflation, is this thing called a lease option. And a lease option is a concept where you can basically be paying rent today and also putting money aside for a future purchase price. So how this would work is that if you are renting a place right now, say for $2,000 a month, because I think that's the going rate right now for your average price home. Anyways, if you're renting a home for $2,000 right now, and you're working with a landlord, you can approach your landlord and say, hey, I have this idea of a lease option. And what you would do is you say, this is what I think the house would be worth in X amount of years. This is what I want to pay for this house. If they're willing to sell it, for one. You also have to think from the landlord's perspective. Like, they also have knowledge of inflation, have knowledge of the market as well. So it may be a price that you may not want at the time, but, owning is always better than renting in my eyes. But anyways, you lock in an agreed upon price with your landlord today, that you basically put money aside as you're renting right now until your lease is up. And then once your lease is up, you have the option to either purchase the house or walk away from it. And at that point, it's really up to you to make that decision. If you are smart, in my eyes, obviously, while you are paying your rent for your lease period, you be putting some money aside, and that money that you put aside could actually be your down payment. Now, once you reach the end of your lease period, you go get a mortgage. Now you have money put aside for a down payment. Now you can actually get into a house and own it. So that being said, it makes it a little bit easier for you to qualify for that mortgage, because you already have money saved for the down payment. Furthermore, you don't necessarily have to get a mortgage from your bank, or many well-known banks. There are other ways you could finance a home without having going through a bank, because a bank typically requires a lot of red tape. And what I mean by red tape is they want 28-36 debt to income ratios, credit scores, a certain amount of down payment, and things of the like. Once you reach the end of your lease period on a lease option, it's really up to you where you want to get your financing from, but it will be much easier if you have a lump sum of money already kind of saved up. So the benefit of this is that it basically beats inflation. And when I say beats inflation, is that since you are locking in on a price today, for example, if I went to my landlord today and said, I want to lock in a price to pay in 2025 for this property that I'm living in right now, it beats inflation, because I won't be paying market value in 2025. I'll be paying the price I agreed upon today in 2022. Now, on the flip side, it can be kind of risky, because you don't know if the market's going to tank, or you don't know if the market's going to keep going up. But you do have an idea in mind of how much this house is going to cost you in 2025 already today. So you can kind of have some leeway in how you want to make your assets work for you, how you want to save your money, how you want to manage your finances to come up with the price of the home. Or if you want to come up with a certain amount and go get a loan for the rest, there's other ways you can finance the home. Going forward, you could basically end up having equity in your home once you decide to purchase it. So if the market does keep going up and you agreed on a price of $250,000 today and to pay in 2025. If the market does keep going up and being strong, once you come up with that 250,000 for that home, let's say in 2025 that home's actually now valued at in the market at 350,000. Now you have $100,000 worth of equity already built into that home before you even own it. Now, if you're smart, you would go invest that and go get an equity line of credit and go invest that into another property. But to each his own. So that being said, that's one way that you could potentially beat inflation, because I know it is something that's at an all-time high right now. It's really crazy right now. I mean, I think this is the highest that inflation has been, I want to say, ever. But it's just crazy. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. You dropping jewels.
And the good thing is that when you agree on that price with your landlord, this is a concept that is a binding contract, a legally binding contract. So that is a contract that you would have to go get. You would have to have a lawyer write it up. But that being said, this is not something your landlord, once they agree upon that price and both you guys sign that, that's something that if they decide to go back on it, you can really take to court and be like, look, this is what you said in 2022. They can't go back on it at that point. So you have some leeway to work with that. And I think it's a great option. A lot of small time investors use that to get into homes sometimes. Instead of dealing with banks, I'd rather just go to the person that owns a home. And I think the easy way to kind of find this is that if you got to look at people in what state in life that they're in. So for instance, from my perspective, as a real estate investor, I'm going to go find somebody that may be a little bit older, doesn't have any kids, may not have a lot of longevity left in their life. And, once they pass, they don't have any kids to pass it down to, where it's just like, oh, let me help this person out. I may be looking for they may be looking for somebody to come into anyways, because if they don't have anybody caring for them, that could be their hospice bill. That can be their what's it called? Senior living bill.
Sugar daddy? Sugar mama?
No, I think
Yo.
I wouldn't say necessarily that, but you have to kind of manipulate your investments to line up with somebody else's life as well. Because if you're going to be an investor, you have to be able to manipulate one's mindset so that your investments work for them as well. Whether it be real estate, the stock market, or whatever it may be, you want to find investments that you are going to be able to weather the storm. So at the end of the day, yes, we're looking at inflation, but what goes up must come down. The market goes up and down, up and down, up and down. So if you have a lot of years left in your life, longevity, you might be able to buy more risky investments because you have the time to recover. But if you're in your 70s or 80s, you may not want to make those risky investments. You might want to go invest in treasury bonds because they're more secure. You may not have as much return on your investment, but at the end of the day, it's a more secure investment. So to each his own, but that's just my little golden nugget for today.
That's real talk, though. A lot of good information. I mean, you all should share that with me when we not potting. Be like, yo, you should try to do this. You should invest in that. I'll be listening, and I take your advice. So the advice you gave me has definitely worked. So you know what you're talking about.
Well, I got a head built like Jimmy Neutron, so it got to be filled with some type of knowledge.
Your head is very big, but
you can't be an airhead with no knowledge.
I didn't want to say it, but I'm glad you pointed it out yourself.
Don't forget, we are giving away a flat screen TV. That really had nothing to do with opinions, but
Let's get you a free TV, man.
Anyways, don't forget that we are giving away a flat screen TV. The requirements are on our Instagram, and I think they're in the description below of our podcast description. Basically, you got to share with a friend, get 2 subscribers, and cash out $3. And we will enter you into a raffle for a flat screen TV. And I'm talking like one of the nice ones, like the smart TVs that got all of the apps you can download, all that kind of cool stuff. And it got a nice picture, I promise. I think I have a video of it actually on my Instagram at Lauren Explains It All. Or is it _it all? Lauren Explains _it all.
Yeah. So, subscribe to the podcast. Hit us up. This was a great podcast.
Furthermore, we are looking for some guests. If you have some good knowledge that can help the community, let us know, message us, because we are always looking to bring people on our podcast.
Yeah.
Lauren explains it all.